All right, so get this. You've got a high-speed rally with all these like luxury cars,
Mm.
and they're winding through these ancient temples. It's kind of wild. Sounds like something straight out of a movie, honestly, but it's real. We're talking about the Gumball 3000, and they're setting their sights on Cambodia this time,
Mhm.
specifically Siem Reap. Now, you might be thinking, okay, cool cars, exotic location,
Uh-huh.
but what's a big deal?
Yeah, well, what's really fascinating here is that it's not just a quick stop on some global joyride. The Gumball 3000. For those maybe who haven't heard of it, it's like the super glamorous road trip that attracts all these like rich and famous people, celebrities, influencers, you name it.
Yeah.
And they've chosen Siem Reap for a reason.
Okay, so there's more to this than meets the eye. I knew there had to be. So give us the inside scoop.
Well, the timing is key here. Siem Reap is hosting the pre-event on September 1st. And then the main Gumball 3000 event is happening from September 15th to 17th, 2024. And this actually lines up perfectly with Cambodia's Visit Siem Reap 2024 campaign. So they're not just hosting a rally, they're using it as a global stage.
Okay, so picture this. You're walking through those bustling markets in Siem Reap, soaking it all up, the vibrant culture, and suddenly a whole fleet of Lamborghinis and Ferraris come roaring past.
Exactly. It's a pretty striking juxtaposition when you think about it, and it's one that Cambodia is hoping will attract more than just tourists. They want to get the attention of those big international investors and businesses. The Gumball 3000 basically becomes this like high-octane advertisement for the country and what it can offer.
So it's like they're turning the whole country into this living, breathing travel brochure. And with all the celebrities and influencers sharing their experiences online, the reach is just enormous.
Yeah.
Have other countries tried this before, this kind of strategy?
They have. A good example is the Monaco Grand Prix. I mean, it's become synonymous with luxury and glamour. They attract these high net worth individuals from all over the world, and it's been a huge economic boost for Monaco. Cambodia is clearly hoping for a similar kind of boost from the Gumball 3000.
Yeah, so it sounds kind of like a win-win, right? Cambodia gets all this global attention and hopefully an economic boom from tourism and investment. And then on the other side, the Gumball 3000 gets this super exotic and amazing backdrop for their whole rally. But I'm kind of curious about something else. What about the impact on Cambodia itself? It's a country with this really rich and ancient culture.
Yeah.
Especially in Siem Reap, you've got Angkor Wat, basically, right there.
Right. And that's actually a really crucial point. The economic potential is definitely there, no doubt. But it's super important to think about what could happen to Cambodian culture, too. So think about it like this. You have a place like Angkor Wat, which is steeped in like literally centuries of tradition and spirituality. And all of a sudden you have this huge influx of these like super fast cars and like a hardcore party atmosphere.
Yeah, I can see how that could be kind of jarring, like crashing a formal dinner party in a Ferrari. Maybe fun for some, probably not so much for others.
Yeah, exactly. And Cambodia actually has a pretty complex history with tourism, especially when we're talking about Angkor Wat. It's a real balancing act. You want to share these incredible places and these sites with the whole world, but you also want to make sure they're treated with respect. And the Gumball 3000, with its focus on all this like speed and luxury, well, it adds a whole other layer to what's already a pretty complex situation.
So how do you even begin to reconcile those things? How do you attract all the benefits that come with tourism and these big international events without totally compromising the cultural integrity of a place like Siem Reap?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's definitely not an easy answer, but I think it really starts with awareness and sensitivity, honestly, on both sides. So, like, visitors need to approach Cambodia with respect and a genuine willingness to learn about its culture, not just to, like, check it off a bucket list or something.
So it's more than just snapping a selfie with a temple in the background.
Yeah, exactly. It's about really engaging with the culture in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And for Cambodia, it's about figuring out ways to manage tourism so that it actually benefits the people who live there, the local communities, and of course, preserves their cultural heritage. It's definitely a balancing act.
Sounds like a real tightrope walk for sure.
Okay.
But let's shift gears for a second. We've talked about the economic impact and the cultural side of things. But there's another piece of the Gumball 3000 that I thought was interesting. Yeah, so in the middle of all this talk about these crazy parties and all these like million-dollar cars, I found something kind of interesting. The Gumball 3000 also has this whole charitable side to it. It's not just about the spectacle. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really important part of it. And honestly, it kind of gets overshadowed sometimes. But yeah, the Gumball 3000 does have this philanthropic aspect. And one of the big things they do is fundraising for the Angkor Hospital for Children.
Wow, okay. I gotta admit, that kind of surprised me. It's not every day you see a Lamborghini pulling up to a children's hospital.
Yeah, it's definitely not the first thing you think about, but I think it's a good reminder that even with all this extravagance, there's always room for compassion and, giving back. It kind of speaks to this larger trend, too, like using these big, high-profile events to try to do some good in the world.
Yeah, for sure. It's like this whole other layer to this whole Gumball 3000 thing, isn't it? We've gone from talking about fast cars and crazy parties to cultural sensitivity and now like philanthropy.
It is. It's a lot to unpack. And honestly, I think that's what makes doing this deep dive so interesting. The Gumball 3000 coming to Cambodia, it's not just about some rally. It's like this microcosm of all the opportunities and the challenges that come with globalization.
That's a really good point. It's easy to just see like a headline about the Gumball 3000 and just make a snap judgment. But when you actually, like you said, do a deep dive, there's so much more to it. All these economic hopes, the cultural worries, the potential for good.
Exactly. It reminds us that the world's not black and white. There are always different ways of looking at things, different layers, and even, unintended consequences that we need to think about. And honestly, that's something we should always try to keep in mind, even when we're not talking about, like, fancy cars and ancient temples.
Definitely gives us all something to think about.
Hmm.
So as the Gumball 3000 is racing through Cambodia, it's leaving us with more than just loud noises and Instagram stories, It's leaving us with some really interesting and honestly thought-provoking questions about the world around us.
Absolutely. Questions about responsible tourism, cultural exchange, the role of wealth in our world.
Civilization that pushed the limit of human ingenuity. The Great Khmer Empire flourished from the late 9th century to the 15th century in present-day Cambodia. Was a dominant civilization in Southeast Asia, known for its impressive architectural achievement, include the famous Angkor Wat temple. The empire showcased everyone in art, agriculture, and engineering, marked by a strong centralized monarchy and elaborate irrigation system that support extensive rice cultivation. Its cultural and religious influence spread throughout the region, making the pivotal figure in the Southeast Asia history. King Jayavarman VII, who reigned from the 1181 to the 1218, was the transformative king of Cambodia. Profoundly impacting the country's cultural, religious, and architectural heritage. The king is particularly renowned for his ambitious building project, among which is the Bayon Temple stand out. The Bayon Temple, located in the heart of Angkor Wat, is criticized by the grand architecture and unique design. His strong commitment to Buddhism led to extensive temple construction, notably the Bayon Temple, famous for its typical stone face and intricate bas relief, portraying daily Khmer life. The King Jayavarman VII of the Khmer Empire is celebrated for his military strategy and infrastructure advancement. He emphasized rigorous soldier training, notably through the Pulabokata martial art, which embody Cambodia's rich cultural heritage. The traditional art form, dating back to the ancient time, combines striking, clinching, and crabbing technique, reflect historical combined skill. as a fossil defender and a vital cultural expression, preserving traditional and fostering national pride, while continuing to thrive through global competition and exhibition. The Queen Indira Devi, wife of the King Jayavarman VII, significantly influenced the spiritual and cultural dynamics of their kingdom. Renowned for her deep devotion, she regularly prayed for the gods for her people's safety and happiness. First,
Amazing.
Yeah.
And this year, Cambodia got in on the action. Our sources mentioned Phnom Penh and Siem Reap,
Ah, two incredible cities.
two incredible Cambodian cities.
Absolutely. Phnom Penh, the bustling capital, and then Siem Reap, which is like the gateway to the awe-inspiring Angkor Wat.
Yeah.
So you can imagine like these incredible cars against a backdrop of ancient temples and vibrant cityscapes talk about a clash of modern and historical.
Okay, but let's get to the really good stuff.
Okay.
Guinness World Record. Tell me more.
So unfortunately, the source material that we have doesn't specify what record was broken.
What?
Yeah, so that part's kind of a mystery.
Hmm.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, was it the number of participants? Was it the route itself? Or maybe like a fundraising effort? This is where a little digging might be needed to find the answer.
Oh, you're just trying to get me to do more research.
Always!
Oh. But you're right, the mystery just adds to the intrigue.
Yeah.
This whole Gumball 3000 event sounds like quite the spectacle.
It really does.
So from Cambodia to a mysterious Guinness World Record, this Gumball 3000 story has it all. Makes you wonder, like, what other surprising events and records are happening around the world right now that we're just totally oblivious to?
Right, that we don't even know to ask the questions about. And that's kind of what I like about this. Even in the digital age, right, where everything's at our fingertips, it really highlights how much there is to discover if you just like dig a little deeper.